Penguins are movie stars. It's not just their adorable waddling technique or their swimming prowess. It's that they're just so quirky and intriguing. There's a vast amount of information out there about penguins, so we thought we'd dive in at the deep end and find some of the more obscure facts about these amazing marine birds. Welcome to Deep Blue Discovery. Coming up on this episode, why penguin poo is important. But before we start, if you do like our videos, please don't forget to click the like button and of course subscribe to the channel. The Galapagos Islands. We don't really know if that's the right place for this story, but the remains of the animal we're about to discuss have indeed been found in tropical waters off South America. You won't believe it at first, but giant penguins once roamed the Earth. Fossil evidence suggests penguins evolved before the dinosaurs went extinct, and some prehistoric species were as tall and weighed as much as human beings. Now, we obviously don't have any footage of these creatures because they're long gone, but scientists have worked out a few interesting things about them. The larger penguins were of course more primitive than the modern birds we're familiar with, but they were starting to evolve into them. Many had already lost the feathers on their wings, and those wings were starting to become more rigid and flipper-like. Sadly, these big-beaked beasts eventually died out because cetaceans like these guys and their predecessors, and also pinnipeds, became more effective predators during the Miocene era. The Danger Islands, Antarctica. This story is pretty incredible too. Who would have thought we were still discovering super colonies in 2018? But that's genuinely what happened here. One and a half million Adelie penguins were found by researchers living on the Danger Islands in the Weddell Sea. That's on the eastern side of the Antarctic Peninsula. It's a place that's rarely visited because it's so remote and logistically hard to get to. But scientists spotted the mega colony using satellites, so decided to launch a ground expedition. They came armed with drones, and that's how we got this amazing footage. Once their mission was complete, they studied satellite images dating back decades to work out whether the population was in decline or not, and they actually found something really interesting. Unlike on the western side of the peninsula, where Adelie numbers are in decline due to human activity and climate change, this population had stayed relatively steady. This is really good news, because some penguin species are facing extinction from the Antarctic Peninsula in the coming decades. That's if we don't change the way we behave. Clearly, these animals are worth protecting. Staying in Antarctica. We don't really have a location for this one because it's more of a general point, but it is relevant to the Antarctic Peninsula, so here we are. Penguins can projectile poo, which is unfortunate if you're in the way, but actually very handy. It can be used to deter predators, to keep other penguins away from their nests, and it enables them to keep their nests clean during long egg-sitting shifts. There's a proverb about not doing something on your own doorstep, isn't there? But there's another reason penguin excrement is important, and in our opinion, it's the conservation story of our lifetime. Because their colonies are often so large, penguin poo is visible from space, and scientists have been using that for things like tracking populations and understanding breeding habits. Here's a good example of how this works. Penguin excrement is called guano, and young chicks often have darker guano than their parents. That means it's possible to work out where they're breeding. These very clever people are also able to tell what species they're looking at from space, because each type of penguin kind of has different coloured excrement when viewed against the white Antarctic backdrop. All this is helping us monitor populations that we can't easily get to, and that can't be anything but good news. You only really find penguins in the southern hemisphere, so yep, we're in Antarctica again. Have you ever wondered why penguins are black and white? Well, it might be bad news for this rare white gentoo. Penguins spend 3/4 of their lives in the ocean, and that's where most of their predators are too. Most species have black backs and white underbellies, as you know. Therefore, when a predator sees them from above, their dark backs blend in with the dark ocean below. And when a predator sees them from below, their light bellies blend in with the bright sun above. It really is as simple as that. It's survival of the fittest. Those with the best camouflage were more likely to survive and pass on their DNA. But their camo tuxedos aren't the only weapons in the penguin arsenal. Booth Island, Antarctica. Penguins look cumbersome on land, but they do have a special technique called tobogganing to move faster. That's basically sliding around on their tummies. However, they really come into their own in the sea. Well, except for these guys, who seem to be afraid of water. These marine birds can swim at astonishing speeds, and they use a technique called porpoising. This basically involves leaping out of the water to breathe, but doing so at the right angle so not to lose momentum. This helps them cover long distances quickly and evade predators, but it also makes them effective at catching their own food too. Port Lockroy, Antarctica. Finally, penguins have complex social lives, as we saw earlier. Obviously, different species behave in different ways, but we've all seen footage of them doing things like stealing rocks to decorate their nests and fighting over mates. So that's what we're going to play out to. Footage of penguins being penguins. Thanks for watching this episode of Deep Blue Discovery. We're back next week with more awesome marine life content.